Shocking truth. Girl's bizarre nanny selection reveals devastating secret about her family. In the small town of Maplewood, whispers filled the air like a thick fog, wrapping around unsuspecting ears. A little girl named Eva had become an enigma, her selection of nannies sparking wild tales that twisted through the streets. Rumors swirled that each caretaker had a story darker than the last one vanished. Another was a former fugitive, and yet another had a peculiar obsession with the occult. The townsfolk exchanged glances that spoke volumes, their eyes wide with disbelief, fueled by a mix of horror and curiosity. What does she know? What is hidden in that magnificent old house? Strains of nervous laughter echoed as parents grabbed their children tighter, as if protecting them from the looming shadows of secrets. Every nanny Eva chose seemed to slip through like smoke. It began with Mrs. Whitaker, whose bright red lipstick contrasted sharply against her pale skin, and who carried a small, intricately carved box wherever she went. Locals insisted it was filled with the bones of small animals. They gasped as she once entered the bakery, her laughter ringing like church bells, but her eyes spoke of stories untold and paths never trodden. Then came Adam, a tall man with a roaming gaze, always mumbling something about the family legacy. No one could recall what happened to him, he just left. As rumors morphed into legend, strange occurrences surrounded Eva's home. Sounds echoed in the night, a soft rustle like whispers, the cold click of a door opening, unseen footsteps pacing under a full moon. Children stopped playing near her yard, as if they sensed a presence looming, a veil thick with dread. Eva, with her bright smile and big brown eyes, had always been different. On school days she wore mismatched socks and talked to her invisible friend, a being she named the Shadow, claiming it knew all her darkest secrets. The children shivered, retreating at her mention, unsure if it was all innocent or something to fear. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The wind howled outside as a storm brewed, a perfect backtrack for the climax of Eva's mystery. Was it true that something sinister was hidden within the walls of her strange mansion? The townsfolk gathered, gossiping in hushed tones, hearts racing with anticipation. Then one fateful evening a new nanny showed up. She was shrouded in shadows, her presence sending a shiver down everyone's spine. What secrets would she unlock? What darkness lurked in the hearts of Eva's family? The town held its breath, terrified to uncover the truth. The rain began to fall, heavy and relentless, drumming against the windows of the old mansion. The townsfolk peered from under umbrellas, eyes fixated on the figure at the doorway. She was tall, with a long coat that billowed behind her, and hair that fell like dark silk, pooling at her shoulders. The shadows seemed to cling to her, blending her into the very fabric of the night. Her name was Lila, and horrors danced behind the calm facade of her smile as Lila stepped inside. The heavy door creaked shut, sealing her presence within the walls that held so many secrets. Eva watched from the bottom of the staircase, her small frame barely visible in the dim light of the hallway. Her bright eyes flashed with interest, flickering like candle flames. Was this the nanny that would finally unlock the enigma surrounding her? Lila wasted no time. "I know you've been waiting," she said, her voice smooth as honey yet sharp enough to slice through the murky air. "And I can help you find what you seek." Eva leaped at the words, hope blooming like a flower in her chest. The townsfolk sighed, some shaking their heads, realizing this woman might be the most dangerous yet. "Children shouldn't talk to strangers," one neighbor warned, her voice laced with fear. But nobody was listening. The allure of Lila's promise swallowed their caution whole. Whispers of her past swirled through Oak Lane, half-truths and half-fears blending into a storm of dread. They remembered a time when she lived in Seattle, where a family had vanished under her care. But the desire to know what lay beneath the surface drove people forward, curiosity igniting a reckless bravery. As the rain lashed against the mansion, Lila sat across from Eva in the parlor. Candles flickered, casting eerie shadows along the walls. With every flicker, Eva felt her pulse quicken. She leaned in, heart pounding in rhythm with the storm outside. "What do you know about your family?" Lila asked, her eyes piercing through the little girl, as if searching for something buried deep within her. Everyone says we're different, that we have secrets, Eva replied, her voice small. Lila smiled knowingly, her eyes narrowing. Secrets can either protect you or destroy you. The choice, dear Eva, is yours. Eva felt a weight settle on her shoulders, a sudden realization that there was truth to the stories of her family. Was it possible they were hiding something far more sinister than anyone could imagine? What if these secrets reached beyond the ordinary? Just then there was a loud crash from the kitchen, followed by a shrill scream that echoed through the halls. The room plunged into darkness as the candles flickered out, leaving them in pitch black. Fear wrapped around Eva's heart like a tight knot, panic rising as she grabbed Lila's arm. Stay close to me, Lila ordered, her calm voice slipping away into the chaos. What was that? Eva's voice trembled. Stay still, Lila commanded, but her own voice shook with uncertainty. The kitchen door swung open, revealing a figure cloaked in shadow, watching from the darkness. Eva's breath hitched. What was there? Suddenly, the room lit up again, the candles flickering into life, and the tension broke. But the figure had vanished. What was it? Eva whispered, her heart racing. Lila's face hardened, her expression shifting. You must learn quickly, Eva, the truth can be deadly. Fear clawed at the edges of Eva's mind. What was this truth? Would anyone survive its revelation? As the rain thudded against the roof, an even darker question loomed. This wasn't just about secrets anymore. It was about survival. Once again, the townsfolk gathered outside, oblivious to the gathering storm inside the mansion. What lay beyond the door? What would Lila reveal next? Eyes filled with both dread and curiosity, they waited for a truth that may never come. But one thing was clear. The dance with darkness had only just begun. The air in the parlor felt thick, charged with a tension that licked at Eva's skin like a rising tide. The brief flicker of light had done little to alleviate the chill wrapping around her heart. She could barely hear the rain pounding outside over the rush of blood in her ears. What was that? She whispered again, straining to see. Lila's grip on her remained firm, yet Eva could sense the uncertainty seeping into her Nanny's voice like a shadow creeping into the light. Before Lila could answer, the scream echoed through the mansion again, piercing the darkness. It was no longer just a sound but a shiver that crawled up Eva's spine. We should go check, she suggested, the pulse of bravery igniting in her chest despite the fear that clung to her. No. Lila's voice rose sharply. You mustn't. We can't disturb the spirits. Spirits? What did she mean by that? Eva's mind reeled with images of ghostly figures drifting through long corridors, and a cold sweat broke out on her forehead. Why not? What if someone is hurt? Eva pressed, trying to pull away, but Lila's fingers tightened like a vice. Because Eva, she said slowly, her voice dropping to a whisper, this place holds memories and not all of them are ready to be unearthed. Just then the shadows shifted behind Lila. Something was lurking just beyond the perimeter of candlelight, light trickling over edges where darkness stretched and writhed. Eva glanced at the door leading into the kitchen, a deep unease gnawing at her insides. What do you mean, memories? Eva let the question hang, hoping to elicit some kind of reassurance. Instead, Lila's face remained stoic. A thud came from the far end of the house, a sound like wood splintering. The town, anchored by the relentless downpour, now felt centuries away. Eva's breathing quickened as every instinct screamed for her to flee. Listen to me, Lila said, her tone shifting. If you want the answers, you need to be ready. But know this, the truth won't be easy. It can hurt you, stop you from living your life as you knew it. Eva felt her stomach twist. But I need to know, she cried. About my family, about me. Lila inhaled sharply, her eyes flashing with something Eva couldn't name. Was it fear? Then you must do something for me, Lila finally said, her voice low, almost conspiratorial. You have to promise that no matter what happens, you will not turn back. It's a labyrinth, and once we enter, there's no coming out the same. In that moment the door creaked open unbidden despite being shut tight. Darkness yawned within the threshold, inviting. A shadow flickered at the doorway, and Eva felt a pull, a magnetic force calling her forward. Are you ready? Lila leaned closer, as if the words alone could embolden her. What if we get lost? Eva's voice wavered. Then we find our way back together, Lila replied, and for the first time the facade slipped, revealing a hint of vulnerability, facing the void before her. Eva weighed her heart against the questions that clouded her mind. Was she willing to plunge into the depths of her family's secrets? Into the world Lila promised to show her? She took a breath, steeling herself. Promise. As the rain continued to pelt the mansion, a low rumble echoed from the depths of the house. The air grew denser, electric with anticipation. Just then a fleeting image skated across Eva's mind, a child crying. Without warning, silhouettes surged into the parlor, swirling in the candlelight like specters caught between worlds. And as the rain thrummed overhead, a horrific realization struck Eva. The truth wasn't running from her. It lurked, ravenous and hungry for revelation. What awaited them in the darkness? Would they find answers or something even more sinister lurking behind shadows? Eva's resolve hardened as the door to the darkness yawned wider, shadows twisting like phantoms, beckoning her closer. A flicker of rebellion lit within her. This was her chance, a chance to confront the unknown that had haunted her since her earliest memories. With Lila's hand still gripping hers, she took a tentative step forward. The air shifted, thickening as if the darkness itself had breath. "We shouldn't." Lila started, faltering as clouds of uncertainty masked her eyes. But the echoes of that anguished scream propelled Eva onward. "Please, Lila. I need to know what happened," she urged. Her voice barely surfaced above the rising crescendo of the storm outside. But the desperation was palpable. With a strained nod, Lila pulled Eva deeper into the murk. They crossed the threshold, and where once the familiar warmth of the parlor was, a chill gnawed at their skin. The darkness spiraled tightly around them, nearly swallowing them whole. Moments transformed into minutes as they ventured into a narrow corridor, the walls adorned with portraits that seemed to follow their every move. Eyes once bright with life now stared blankly, judging them, questioning their intrusion. Eva gulped, her heart a war drum resounding in her ears. There was no turning back. Another thud echoed through the corridor, reverberating like a heartbeat. Out of the corner of her eye, Eva thought she glimpsed the flutter of something small darting between the shadows. Was it the boy from her vision? A shimmer of dread raced through her as she caught Lila's gaze, which mirrored her own growing panic. "Stay close," Lila whispered, her voice laced with urgency. They might. Before she could finish, the shadows thickened, swirling closer, coiling around them like serpents ready to strike. A voice, barely a whisper but filled with sorrow, slinked through the tension. "Help me, did you hear that?" Eva shivered, her tight grip on Lila's hand tightening. "Yes," Lila murmured, her eyes widening with recognition. "Stay alert, Eva. We're not alone." Eva's pulse quickened, and she strained her ears against the whispers cascading down the animistic halls. At every turn the shadows seemed to dance and flicker, alive with stories begging to be told. A part of her yearned to flee, but another roared for the truth. "What do the spirits want?" Eva's voice trembled as she pressed on. "Do they want me to find something?" A jagged creak sliced through the air. The floor beneath them trembled ominously. Shards of splintering wood groaning like they were alive, tortured beneath their weight. In that instant, a door at the end of the corridor creaked open, brightness spilling out into the shadows like a siren call. Lila hesitated, a wariness shadowing her features. "I don't know if we should know," Eva interjected, her breaths quickening. "What if we find the answers? What if that's where the truth lies?" "Oh, Eva," Lila implored, but the determined shine in the girl's eyes brooked no argument. "Then we go together." They stepped forward, crossing into the blinding light. The room exploded with color, the richness of reds and golds startling against the shadowy corridor. But what lay before them cut through the astonishment like a hot knife. A table was set, filled with strange artifacts entwined with glimmering chains of destiny. At the center lay an old photograph, cracked and curled, but unmistakable. Eva's family, smiling, radiant, but beneath their smiles, a darkness festered that Eva couldn't quite place. With trembling hands, she reached for it. As her fingers grazed the edges, she felt it, an icy chill coursing through her. A sensation of 1,000 eyes staring deep into her soul, and then it hit her like a freight train. "Lila, what is this?" The question shattered the silence, drawing Lila closer, her own confusion reflected in Eva's wide, horrified eyes. Before Lila could speak, a loud crash rattled the mansion, and the lights flickered violently. "Eva!" Lila cried, urgency choking her words. "We need to leave. Now." But it was too late. Along the walls shadows morphed, twisting into anguished faces. That echoed the cries of that lost child. "Do you want the truth?" they wailed. "Then come and claim it." The darkness surged toward them, breath heavy, as the air turned acrid and cold. "What does it want with us?" Eva screamed, adrenaline hammering in her chest. And just as quickly as it began, the rush of shadows lunged forward, leaving Eva breathless and teetering on the edge of revelation. What terrible truths awaited them in this haunting labyrinth? And would they have the strength to face what was hidden in the cursed echoes of the past? The shadows lunged, a dark tide crashing against their every instinct. Eva's heart pounded like a war drum, each beat threatening to drown out the chaos around her. Trapped in a whirlpool of darkness, she felt a primal urge to flee. Yet she stood her ground, the photograph still clutched in her fingers. "Lila!" she screamed, glancing over her shoulder. But Lila was already backing away, eyes wide with fear as silhouettes danced along the walls, their forms twisting and writhing like tortured spirits. "Run! We have to run!" Lila shouted, the terror in her voice palpable. With a surge of adrenaline, Eva and Lila turned, sprinting back toward the corridor from which they had come. But the shadows were relentless, creeping along the ground, curling around their ankles, pulling them down as if the very building sought to claim them. "Don't look back," Eva gasped, forcing her legs to move faster. She could barely breathe, the air closing in like a vice. They reached the doorway, only to find it suddenly barred by an inky wall that pulsed and throbbed, a living barrier. Whispers echoed in their ears, threading through the darkness. "You cannot escape your fate, you must face the truth, Eva. Do something." Lila yelled, her panic rising to a fever pitch. In a moment of clarity born from chaos, Eva dropped to the ground and pressed the photograph against the wall of shadows, desperation flooding her veins. "This is my family. I want to understand. What do you want from me?" The darkness recoiled for a heartbeat, a silent gasp whispering through the room. Shapes shifted, the anguished faces contorting with an intensity that stole the breath from Eva's lungs. Then a singular voice resonated from the depths of the shadows, deep and echoing. "The truth lies beyond fear. You seek answers, yet they lie within." Eva's throat tightened. "What does that mean?" Suddenly the room brightened, the shadows loosening their grip ever so slightly. The artifacts on the table glimmered, each one pulsing with energy. Eva could feel them calling, weaving stories she was desperate to uncover. "Lila, we have to," Eva began. But the room's chaos swelled again, drowning out her words in a wave of sound and fury. "Claim it!" the shadows screamed, merging into a cacophony of voices. "You must confront your origins." Lila tugged at Eva's sleeve, fear etched in her features. "We have to get out of here. Please, Eva." Before Eva could respond, she felt a tug at her memory, a flicker of light piercing through the darkness like a lighthouse beam. Images rushed back, the warmth of her family's laughter, the sweet scent of her mother's lavender perfume, the stories told around a flickering fire. "No, no," she whispered, pulling back against the sweeping tide of sorrow. "I can't hold on to that. It hurts too much." The shadows seemed to twist in response, growing louder. "You must embrace the pain to unlock the truth." "Eva!" Lila's voice sliced through her panic, desperate and pleading. What was happening? Why was the darkness pressing in, suffocating her, yet also offering a hint of clarity? "Let us break through together," Eva shouted, her determination roaring back to life. "We can face it." Gripping Lila's hand tightly, she steeled herself, standing firm against the swelling darkness. "Okay, show us the truth." "I'm ready." At that moment, an explosion of energy surged from the center of the room, and the shadows receded, revealing a hidden door silent and waiting, a portal to another reality, one that breathed possibility and terror in equal measure. "Do we dare?" Lila whispered, eyes wide with uncertainty. "Together, Lila," Eva replied, her voice steady. "Whatever's behind that door, we'll face it." The floor trembled beneath them, the air electric with anticipation. But before they could take a step forward, a new voice emerged, deep and chilling. "Finally, you stand on the threshold, but know this: what waits inside might be more than you can bear." Would they brave the unknown beyond the door? Or would the weight of their family secrets bury them beneath an unending darkness? The door loomed before them, an unyielding sentinel cloaked in shadow. Eva's heart raced, but she locked eyes with Lila, searching for a flicker of courage in her friend's gaze. "We can't turn back now," she urged. With a deep breath, they stepped through the threshold. Light flooded their vision, brighter than the chaos that had surrounded them moments ago, but the warmth felt wrong. The brightness warped, shimmering like waves in a heat haze. It was both beautiful and horrifying, wonder mixed with dread, sending shivers down Eva's spine. As they stepped fully into the new space, the surroundings began to sharpen into focus. They were in a grand library, filled with ancient books stacked high on towering shelves. But the scent of leather mingled with something metallic, something ominous. "What is this place?" Lila breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. "I have no idea," Eva replied, her skin prickling as she scanned the aisles lined with arcane tomes. They appeared to be more than just books. They were alive with energy, as if breathing, whispering secrets long buried. "Maybe one of them can explain what's going on," Lila suggested, marching forward bravely. Yet as they moved deeper into the aisles, the air thickened, heavy with something sinister. Their footsteps echoed, stretching into the silence, filling it with an uncomfortable tension. They paused as a gust of wind fluttered the pages of an open book on a nearby lectern. The text glowed momentarily, illuminating the faces of portraits hanging on the walls, people wearing expressions of sorrow, joy, and longing. Eyes followed them, seeming to judge their intrusion. "Eva, look." Lila pointed at a dusty book, its spine cracked. At the title, Eva's stomach dropped. "The Chronicles of the Ashwood Family." Her pulse quickened, matched only by the fierce look on Lila's face. "What if your answers are in there?" "Yes, but are we ready to face this?" Eva murmured, trembling. The shadows from the previous room loomed still in her mind, whispering doubts. Just then, a chilling wind swept through the library, and the whispers grew louder, pressing on their ears. "You cannot hide," it seemed to say, a haunting reminder of the darkness they had just escaped. "The Ashwood truths demand to be known now or never," Lila insisted as she moved toward the book, reaching out apprehensively. The moment her fingers brushed against the cover, a shockwave rippled through the air, almost pushing Eva back. "Lila!" she cried, but it was too late. The book swung open, pages flipping violently, the words swirling like a tornado. Suddenly, the ground began to tremble, dust cascading from the ceilings. The portraits seemed to convulse, their faces twisting into screams of anguish. "Face your family's legacy," the voice commanded, echoing around them. "What does that even?" Eva started, but the floor cracked and splintered beneath her, an abyss gaping open, threatening to swallow them whole. "We need to get out of here," Lila shouted, pulling on Eva's sleeve, panic clear in her eyes. Yet the call of the swirling words was intoxicating, drawing Eva closer against her will. "Wait!" Eva gasped, a revelation sparking in her mind. The family, it's all tied to these secrets. The void beneath them yawned wider. The shadows of the library seemed to merge with their fear, claws of darkness reaching for them. "You must confront the cost of your bloodline." The voices roared, a mix of her ancestors' regret and fury. Eva's heart raced, minds whirling with what it could all mean. Could these answers actually be the key to freedom, or would they drag her deeper into despair? "Lila, we can't leave yet. We have to know." Eva's voice trembled, caught between fear and the pull of the legacy that awaited her. But when she noticed the portraits again, one face stood out among all the others, a striking resemblance to her. A chill washed over her, echoing a truth she was terrified to accept. "What is happening?" Lila gasped, eyes darting between Eva and the opening chasm. The air thickened with dread, and Eva replied, her voice now steady with resolve. "Something vital awaits us, and we have to face it together." They stood on the edge of the abyss, the truth beckoning like a siren song. Would they plunge into the darkness of their past? Or would the revelations lift the weight they carried? There was only one way to find out. With a deep breath, Eva took a step forward, ready to leap into the unknown. But as she did, a blinding flash engulfed them, tearing apart reality itself. The blinding light subsided, fading into an eerie twilight glow that surrounded them like smoke. It felt as if they had fallen from one world into another, the library now transformed into a hauntingly beautiful landscape. Eva blinked, trying to comprehend their new surroundings. The towering shelves were gone, replaced by twisted trees with sickly sweet blossoms that dripped like blood. Shadows danced around them, flickering in and out of existence, and the air tasted metallic. Where are we? She whispered, dread curling in her stomach. Before Lila could respond, a figure emerged from the mist. It appeared to be a woman, her dress flowing like a river of ink, curls of hair cascading around her like tentacles. Welcome, heroes of the Ashwood lineage, she spoke. Her voice as smooth as silk but dripping with malice. Eva's throat tightened. What do you want from us? I am Seraphine, guardian of the Ashwood secrets, the woman declared, taking a step closer. Your recklessness has awakened forces better left undisturbed. Are you prepared to bear the weight of your family's sins? Eva felt Lila's hand grip hers tightly. The tension rippled through the air, heat radiating off them like steam. We just want answers. Eva cried, desperation spilling from her lips. We don't want this. But it is too late. The truth demands to be seen, and you will witness it. With a wave of her hand, the shadows twisted, forming scenes that played like a warped film before their eyes. Faces appeared. Ancestors etched in sorrow and anger, their eyes wide with fear. Images flashed betrayal, curses, blood-soaked promises made and broken. Eva's heart raced, her breath quickening. Your ancestors made a choice, a pact that tainted the very essence of your family. Ties that bind you are not of love but of darkness. Seraphine's tone fluctuated between mocking and mournful. No, that can't be true. Lila shouted. Her voice echoed, trembling with anger and denial. But the visions continued. A young girl with hauntingly familiar features stood in the middle of a crumbling room, holding a knife cloaked in shadows. She cried out as darkness encircled her heart, consuming her whole. Stop it! Eva yelled, but the scenes escalated, revealing joyous celebrations overshadowed by terrible sacrifices. Friends turned foes, laughter that morphed into agonizing wails, a twisted tapestry of history. Each generation bled to keep the family's magic alive. Seraphine explained, her voice now melodic. You were chosen to inherit this legacy. But are you strong enough to carry its burden? What did they do? Lila's voice fractured, each word laced with dread. Your family made a deal for power, Seraphine replied, eyes gleaming with unholy delight. And every Ashwood since has suffered the consequences. The images pulsed, and Eva felt a strange sensation, a mixture of fear and curiosity rose in her chest. What was hidden in the depths of her lineage? Could it truly be as devastating as it appeared? Do you wish to break free from the chains of the past? Seraphine challenged, her expression suddenly fierce. Yes, Eva declared, heart pounding, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. As the guardian's smirk widened, a shudder coursed through the ground, the air swirling with ominous energy. To break those chains, sacrifices must be made. Are you willing to pay the price? Eva exchanged a wide-eyed glance with Lila, who looked just as terrified yet filled with resolve. The chasm of their family's truths loomed larger, opening like a ravenous maw. We can't walk away now, Lila whispered, breathing hard as shadows crept around them, whispering ancient secrets. Then let us begin, Seraphine hissed, and the world trembled again. Darkness swirling faster as if time had halted, a decision crackled in the air. What price would they pay for freedom? Would they plunge deeper into their lineage's curse? Or would they find a way to emerge as victors? But the question slithered through Eva's mind, dark and insistent. What if the darkness is stronger than them both? As the shadows closed in, swirling into shapes both familiar and horrifying, she realized their fight had just begun and victory came with a shadow of its own. The ground jolted beneath them, sending tremors through Eva's legs. Shadows twisted and writhed closer, almost as if they had a mind of their own, beckoning them into the darkness. Eva used every ounce of her strength to keep standing, her eyes locked onto Seraphine, who looked amused by their fear. Sacrifices, the guardian mused, tilting her head. What would you be willing to lose? A memory? A bond? Perhaps a piece of your very soul? Lila's grip tightened. You can't be serious. We won't give up anything for you. Seraphine chuckled, the sound echoing unnaturally in the oppressive stillness. Oh, sweet Lila, the real question is what you will each forsake to unveil the truth. Magic demands a cost, and the lineage of Ashwood is steeped in blood. Yours will be no different. The shadows swirled around Lila, licking at her feet like a hungry dog. A vision erupted through the darkness, revealing a fiery scene. A woman, Lila's great-grandmother, confronts a cloaked figure, voices rising like smoke into a horizon of chaos. The woman screamed out, words twisted and lost to the flames, and Lila stumbled back, breathless. "No, it's not real," Lila gasped, shaking her head as if to rid herself of the haunting scene. "That was her choice," Seraphine said, a glint in her eye. "Just like your family chose to protect the magic, they also chose to unleash the darkness. You cannot separate the two." Eva felt a rising tide of anger along with despair. "But we didn't make those choices. We're just kids." "Exactly. And so were they," Seraphine replied, stepping even closer, her presence consuming the space around them. "The younger you are, the more power flows through your veins. The more potent the cost." Suddenly, the air crackled with energy, and the dark sky seemed to fracture, revealing a glimpse of a vast expanse filled with tortured souls, their cries echoing like a nightmarish symphony. Eva's breath caught in her throat. "Look," Seraphine commanded with an outstretched arm. "Those are the lost spirits of your bloodline, bound here, waiting for the next generation to pay the debt." "No," Lila shouted, backing away, horrified. "But I offer you a choice," Seraphine continued, her voice soothing yet sinister, as if wrapping around their hearts in a warm embrace. "One of you can step forward, willingly surrender a piece of your essence, and the other shall walk away with knowledge beyond your comprehension. A chance to never let darkness consume your family again." Eva felt a hard knot in her stomach. What does that even mean? "A piece of my essence?" Seraphine smiled, a predatory grin, as more shadows slashed at the ground, hungry for their response. "Your memories, your love, perhaps even your will to fight. But if she steps forward, what happens to me?" Lila's eyes darted back and forth, panicking at the idea of losing Eva. Seraphine's laughter echoed. "You will watch helplessly as she becomes nothing but a shadow of her former self." "No," Eva shouted, feeling the weight of the decision crashing down on her like a tidal wave. "We won't let you pit us against each other. We're stronger than this darkness." But Seraphine's gaze turned cold. "Denial is merely a reaction. You can stand together or betray yourselves. Choose wisely. Time is running out." Eva and Lila exchanged wild glances, terror mixing with an intense desire to protect each other. The shadows whispered once more, weaving tales of betrayal, sacrifice, and desperation. "Don't listen to her. We can find another way," Lila urged, shaking with fear, voice barely steady. Suddenly, the ground beneath them erupted, and the shadows shot upward like an explosion, swirling into monstrous forms, intentions dark and unyielding. In that moment, Eva realized what lay ahead. The struggle was not just for their family's legacy, but for their very souls. Could they find a way to defeat this evil together? Or would they be torn apart by the choice Seraphine forced upon them? As the shadows surged, a chilling whisper filled the air. "Prepare for your sacrifice," and Eva knew they were teetering on the brink of unimaginable darkness. Would they have the courage to fight back? The answer began to stir within her, hot and urgent, but time was running out. The shadows writhed around them like hungry serpents, their tendrils reaching for Eva and Lila, pulling at the edges of their resolve. Eva felt the dark energy circle her, a weight heavier than any stone. "Choose," Seraphine hissed, the hunger in her eyes shimmering with a dark light. "Or lose everything." Her voice cracked like thunder, urging them into a panic. "No," Lila shouted, planting her feet firmly on the ground. Defiance sparkled in her wide eyes. "We're not going to play your game." Eva's heart raced, her pulse pounding in her ears. She could feel the shadow's urgency, a vile force that threatened to drown them. How was it possible that their ancestors' choices were binding them now? "Remember your history," Seraphine pressed. "Your family's legacy is tainted by sacrifice. You want to break the cycle? You must act." For a brief moment, Eva glimpsed a chance. "Lila, we can think of something else. Together." But all around them the shadows likely snickered, an unsettling chorus of doubt. "Everything we've learned was a lie. You heard her. We may never be free." Lila's voice trembled. The anger had shifted to despair, and doubt could crack any heart wide open. A new vision dawned within Eva's mind, a glimpse of their family crest, the ashwood tree, its branches clawing against the dark sky. Beneath, the roots sprawled deep, buried in secrets revealed only by the moonlight. The families had sacrificed so much for the sake of magic, each generation bound tighter within a web of choice and consequence. What if we don't choose? Eva said suddenly, a flicker of hope igniting her words. What if we refuse to give in? If we stand together? Seraphine's voice dripped with incredulity, her laughter echoing through the swirling darkness. You think unity can defy centuries of sacrifice? That you can simply turn your back on your lineage? We can try. Lila shouted, the spark of determination returning to her eyes like fire igniting dry brush. Your lies can't keep us shackled. We can fight back. With that proclamation, something shifted. The shadows shrank, hesitating at their boldness. In that brief moment, Eva felt a pulse of energy. They were responding to their fearlessness. The ground trembled yet again, but this time it was different. The shadows retreated, swirling in confusion as if the very fabric of their essence was tested by the girls' unity. Seraphine's smile faltered for a fraction of a second. Fools! She screeched, her voice turning to ice. You don't know what power lies within you if you dare summon it. Suddenly, the remnants of the tortured souls in the air began to murmur, their voices weaving together a collective yearning that resonated with Eva and Lila. They recognized their ancestors' pain, their love, their sacrifice. But could they transform that anguish into strength? Strength, yes. Eva shouted, feeling the energy swell. We are Ashwood. We will no longer carry this burden in silence. With newfound determination, they raised their hands, letting their emotions flow out like a radiant pulse, defying the darkness. Seraphine reeled, eyes blazing with fury. You cannot escape what is owed to you. But even as the shadows lunged forward, Eva felt the cast of doubt grow weak. Instead, laughter and defiance sparked like firecrackers in the night sky. The air around them split open, drawing in the whispers of the family they had feared. In your unity there is power, echoed the ancestral voices, rising to join the girls in their stand. Yet, as the shadows gathered again, darker and more furious than before, a sudden shock rattled through. Prepare for the storm, Seraphine warned, her gaze sharp with malicious intent. Before Eva could process what that meant, the earth beneath them groaned like an ancient giant awakening. Would they stand firm against the onslaught, or would the storm of their lineage consume them all? The choice lay within their hearts, a resolution yet to be written. The storm raged outside the mansion, but nothing compared to the turmoil inside. Shadows encircled Eva and Lila, who stood shoulder to shoulder, hearts pounding as the temperature dropped to an ice-cold dread. The air crackled ominously, vibrating with the energy of their ancestors' grief. They had dared to challenge ancient bonds, and now that force was rising against them like a tidal wave. Stand together, Eva cried, fiercely holding Lila's hand. We're more than our family's past. The shadows roared, churning around them, reaching for the light that dared to defy them. You are nothing without the weight of your bloodline. Seraphine's voice echoed, darkly triumphant. You think you can rewrite your fate? In that moment the air thickened and a crack of thunder shook the mansion, urging them to fight back with every ounce of strength they carried. They had spent too long living in fear of the unknown, burdened by their lineage's choices. No more. With a surge of rebellion, Eva felt an unfamiliar warmth rise within her, a connection to every ancestor that had come before her. The spirits whispered their stories, weaving together a tapestry of sorrow and hope that enveloped her heart. We embrace our legacy, she declared. All of it. The pain, the darkness, and the strength to overcome it. Enough. Seraphine howled, shadows swirling violently. You cannot escape the choices your family made. The debt must be paid. But Eva and Lila stood resolute. They raised their hands, feeling energy coursing through them, sparkling like fireflies in the night. We choose a new path. They shouted together, and the room erupted in light, the shadows retreating temporarily in surprise. As they stood together, the pain of their ancestry surged through them but transformed into a powerful drive, a commitment to face the darkness and redefine who they were. They had the power to break the cycle, to rewrite their family's legacy right here, right now. Then with a shared breath they instinctively connected their thoughts, forging a bond not just of friendship but of their newfound purpose. Together we face it, Lila cried. The shadows screeched, swirling desperately, but Eva and Lila's unity lit up the room. Memories flooded into their minds, echoes of laughter, images of strength, and whispers of love that had endured generations of fear. We are brave, Eva said, channeling every ounce of emotion into the moment. We will honor our family's pain by standing united. The energy rippled outward, washing over them like a wave of golden light, pushing back the oppressive darkness. The haunting forms of their ancestors began to shift, no longer tortured, but filled with an overwhelming sense of hope. Break free. Set us free, came their unified voice, echoing through the space. You dare challenge me? Seraphine's features twisted, her form disintegrating like mist caught in a sudden gust, panic clawing at what she desperately clung to. No, Lila shouted, grounding herself against the impending storm. We dare to be more than you ever believed we could. The shadows writhed desperately, but in the face of the girls' combined strength, they began to shrink. They surged toward Eva and Lila, still trying to reclaim their hold, but the warmth between the sisters stood like an impenetrable fortress. In one final explosion of light, Eva shouted, "No more. We break the chains and reclaim our family's love. We choose hope." With that declaration, the shadows erupted into a cascade of brilliant sparks. Luminescent shards spun around them, infusing the room with love and healing. As the last vestiges of darkness slipped away, Seraphine let out a wail, dissipating into nothingness. Shadows fled into corners, terrified of the light they could not withstand. Silence fell as the dust settled, the air thick with an overwhelming sense of release and peace. Slowly the room transformed. Warmth mixed in with the fading echoes of anguish, vibrant colors washing over the once sinister space. We did it! Lila exclaimed, looking over at Eva, eyes brimming with tears of relief and triumph. We broke the cycle. Eva smiled, heart swelling with pride and freedom. Together. After years of yearning for answers, the girls had not only uncovered the depths of their family's legacy, but they had also recast it. They were no longer mere shadows of the past but rather architects of their future, a future unbound by sorrow, instead filled with love and courage. They left the mansion hand in hand, stepping into the soft glow of a new dawn. The storm had passed, the skies clearing, and the weight of generations faded into the background. Eva glanced back at her old home, knowing it would forever remain a part of her, a reminder of darkness transformed into light. The townsfolk, quietly watching from afar, felt the change in the air. A fresh breeze whispered through Maplewood, and hope danced among them once more. As they walked forward, Eva and Lila promised to protect their newfound legacy. This time it would be rooted in truth, unity, and love, a legacy no longer twisted by darkness but gleaming with the brilliance of resilience. And as they stepped into the future, the world opened before them, a canvas waiting to be painted with the stories only they could tell. Now is the moment to act. Subscribe immediately to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will tug at your heart. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help others discover these tales. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this mind-blowing ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.